Go. Evening, everybody. Thanks very much for coming out. Bob's out of town this week, so I'll try to limp us through this thing. We'll start, as we always do, with the Pledge of Allegiance and then the invocation by Pastor Dennis Ritchie of the Presbyterian Church of Bella Vista. So if everyone could stand up for both of those things.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this day, for the sunshine and blue sky, for the gift of this community to be a part of the POA. We thank you for the board members gathered here tonight, for the time and talent that they give for the betterment of our community. We give you thanks for the employees of the POA who seek to strive to serve the various members. We pray that you would give wisdom to this board as they seek to do more with less, that the members of the Property Owners Association would recognize that the amenities help maintain our property values. Watch over us, use us for your glory, and continue to make this a great place to live. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. And I will turn this next section over to Tom.
First up, if the Elections Committee could come forward, they are going to do a drawing of we have 5 candidates, and they're going to draw them, their names out, so we can determine what order they will appear on the ballot. Bob, speak into the microphone, please.
I'd like to introduce the entire committee because we have a belief that the committee that draws together produces the best work. Roberta Dale, Linda Messerly. We will draw 2 and 2, and then I'll draw the last. The sequence in which we draw these is the sequence in which the names will appear on the ballot and any subsequent communication that we have with the candidates. Okay?
Please speak into the microphone.
Ruth Hatchers, number 1.
Jim Abramson.
Bill Barr.
This one doesn't open. Hank Ott DeVries.
David Brandenburg.
Great. Thanks very much to the Election Committee, too, for serving. That's a behind-the-scenes, thankless job. Thank you.
Next up, I'd like to introduce Kim Carlson. She is the POA's new Director of Marketing, and she's going to just give us a little intro of her experience.
Hello. Hi, I'm Kim Carlson. I am a native Kansan, but now I'm an Arkansan. Boy, that is hard to say. Let me tell you, I got to get used to that. I grew up on a wheat farm in Kansas, and after college, did about 25 years of marketing, different varieties of marketing within telecom, direct marketing, nonprofit, and higher ed. And my husband and I chose to move to Bella Vista in July of 15 because it was pretty and he likes to fish. And not in that order. It was pretty for me, fishing for him. But we love it here, and I'm excited that I can actually live and work in exactly the same place, which is really awesome. I'm 2 miles down the road. So thank you, everybody, for making me feel so welcome. And I'm on day 9, still here, still alive and kicking. Thank you.
Thanks. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Doug? Doug? Minutes.
Have a couple of motions here. The motion to approve the January 12th, 2017 board work session meeting. The minutes are there in your packet. I'd entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I move we approve the January 12th, 2017 board work session minutes as submitted.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Ruth has Pat Lowry's proxy as well, so she's voted twice. Second is the January 19th, 2017 Board of Directors regular meeting. The minutes are in your board packet there. Would entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
And next up, we have the employee recognition. Cindy, our HR manager, normally does this, but she had to go home early sick today, and so we're going to have Kendall take over.
Hello, guys. We have 3 recipients of the Employee Success Program. Our first one is
Close your mouth.
Mr. Curtis Mullen. He is in Central Golf Maintenance. On his nomination, I have a snippet, and it says, "We needed a safety railing along a cart path repaired, and Curtis came up with the idea of using some wooden post railing material we had previously used on the golf course. He knew where surplus of this material was at Central Maintenance and came up with the idea of using it instead of purchasing material and welding an ugly metal railing back into place. It turned out really well, and Curtis handled the entire installation process from start to finish. So great job, Curtis." Our next recipient is in Water Billing Department, Miss Renee Chamberlain. We actually have a audio recording of Renee.
Hello, my name is Maureen Crowley. I just purchased a home at 20.
Well, I thought we had an audio recording. In the
Walter
meantime,
Drive, and my name is Maureen Crowley. I just purchased a home at 25 Walter Drive, and my water was going to be turned off, and Renee, one of your employees, took care of everything for me. I would like to commend her in the way she handled herself and me. She is like one of the most wonderful employees you could probably have. She's done a wonderful, great job, and she really deserves to be commended. So I'm doing this. My name again, Maureen Crowley, 25 Walter Drive. Oh my goodness, you need more people like that working for you. Thank you for listening to me, and I hope that you pay her off any way you can. Give her a slap on the back.
congratulations, Renee. Our last but not least recipient is Mr. Clark Wood. Clark, come on up. Clark works as our collections and lot sales administrator. He's worked tirelessly over the last 2 years developing a relationship with a large multi-lot investor who is in arrears on assessments. Clark was able to negotiate a large down payment and payment plan with this investor. Clark's efforts resulted in a large collection payment received in the amount of $167,000. So, great job, Clark.
That's only 156,000 in that.
Nick, thank you so much. What great employees we have, and it's wonderful to be able to recognize their efforts in this way. Next up, we have Dwayne Mitchell, our treasurer.
These will be the financials as of January 31st, 2017. We got 1 month running. These are all in thousands of dollars. Starting with the POA, we'll start with the income section. Looking at the total income on the POA, actual year-to-date, $2,406,000, budgeted $2,067,000, prior year, $2,027,000. Looking at the variances on the revenue on the POA side, the other income, and that's a lot to do with Clark right there, 156 better than budget, and that's part of what he has collected. Golf is the annual fees, about $78,000 better than what was budgeted. Facility use fees are the photo IDs, $47,000 better. And investment income due to market activity, $34,000. Also, this is the variances compared to prior year. Other income also is up 182 on this one. Golf is up 80, investment income 69, transfer fees 17, and lot sales again 16. Looking at the expense section, total expenses, the POA, actual $1,150,000 against budgeted $1,312,000, against prior year comparison $974,000. Looking at the variances on this against budget, the employee benefits were $57,000, and that's primarily due to health insurance and health claims being lower than budgeted. Salaries and wages due to some vacancies, $31,000 better. Supplies across the divisions, $31,000 better. Outside contracts, $21,000. Small contracts across the division. 1 month running is hard to get a comparison for the year to date, but this is 1 month. Credit card fees, $10,000 more savings than what would have been budgeted to be spent. And other expenses down 10, mainly advertising. Looking at the variances again for the prior year, professional services are savings about $15,000. That's legal expense is in that category. Outside contracts, $32,000 higher than budget. Software support. Supplies, $46,000 all across the divisions. Some fertilizer cost in there, chemicals. Salaries and wages, $78,000. But take into account, we've added more employees. We have new employees in IT. Chris is an example back there. We've got new employees in golf maintenance, golf operations, and also the general manager, $78,000 difference. Looking at the net income on the POA side, actual $1,208,000 against budgeted $708,000 against prior year $1,036. Looking at the simple cash flow, total simple cash flow POA is $1,204,000 against the budgeted simple cash flow $671,000 against prior year $1,127,000. Looking at the water utility, same results through January. This is the revenue side. Total income is $616,000 against budgeted $586,000 against prior year $569,000. Looking at the variances on the water against budget, other income is better by $19,000. This is due to the late fees charged to the water customers and water capital buy-in fees. Investment income is up 18 again for market activity. Looking at the same comparison prior year, investment income is up on this one, $40,000. Other income is up 14, again for the same reasons. Looking at the expense section, this is the water utility. Total expenses are $237,000 against budgeted $255,000 against prior year $173,000. Looking at the variances on this budget, maintenance and repairs are better by 9, employee benefits 6, other expenses 7, salaries and wages 6, and supplies cost were higher by 11. Again, early, small numbers. Looking at the prior year comparison, membership, training, and travel, some travel, $4,000. Other expense, $6,000 higher. Salaries and wages, 6,000 higher. Supplies, 14, and outside contracts, 36. Software support. Looking at the water net income, 18,000 positive, actual, budget, negative 89, cost of operations. Prior year cost of operations, negative 42. Looking at the simple cash flow on water, simple cash flow on water year-to-date, 42,000 against a negative 47 cost against a negative 9 prior year. That concludes my report. Pending any questions?
Thank you. Good start to the year.
I have a short memo I'd like to read to the board and to the community. Following inquiry from a member regarding possible adoption of the Nonprofit Corporation Act of 1993, I conducted research regarding the act and presented my findings to the Rules and Regulations Committee. It was noted that the Nonprofit Corporation Act of 1993 was not specifically designed for planned communities such as our Property Owners Association. After discussion, the Rules and Regulations Committee elected not to recommend adoption of the Nonprofit Corporation Act of 1993, but to remain under the governance of the Nonprofit Corporation Act of 1963.
Response.
All right. Response to comments from our last meeting. We had three, someone representing the card players and places to play cards, although earlier in that meeting we had pretty much addressed that by revealing our plans for Highlands Clubhouse and what will be available there. We had someone from the young residents requesting that we still fund the beach. We'd like to see the beach still go in, and pointing out we need update to our playground equipment. And we had someone from the snooker players pointing out that the snooker tables are getting a bit worn out and need a repair. Kind of an interesting way in which these were presented. The first person from the card, and just going to make a brief comment on this, but because these are being addressed, but from the card players felt that we were not addressing their age group, which tends to be older, and were more working in favor of the younger people. Then the younger residents stood up and thought it was just the opposite, that we were not representing their interests and stood for the older people. The snooker players didn't care; they just wanted a new snooker table. But I would say that the board agrees clearly that a great deal of what we have in Bella Vista is in need of rejuvenation, and you've heard this a lot from us. We certainly aren't looking at things in terms of what age group or favorite children or anything like that. One thing you will see is that we put forward a rejuvenation plan and would have covered all of these things, but we're dealing with the reality of what we have there. You'll see that we are continuing to make substantial investments into rejuvenating Bella Vista, which we think is very important. You'll see that the ones that you're seeing now have a focus on being able to potentially generate revenue through user fees, food and beverage, et cetera. The message we have to take from this is the reality of, we may not like it, but the reality is that the message is we need to become more of a fee-based community than a monthly assessment-based community. So some things are certainly more easy to use fees. So those are fairly clear. Other things are not amenable to fees. They're how do you charge fees for beaches and playgrounds, et cetera. So we still think we very much need those things. We have to find ways to do that. One thing the board does do, one of the few things, is to set fees. We do that generally in working with management to make proposals on fees. So we're going to be addressing all these kinds of issues, and I think that's a challenge that we have, is to figure out how to make sure we have all the amenities we've come to enjoy in Bella Vista and somehow shift it a bit more to fee-based than monthly assessment-based. Do you want to say anything about the specific thing of any of these, or how we're addressing them?
With regards to the card playing, the construction at Highlands has already begun. It's a 6 to 8 week build-out. And we've met with the card groups, and we have them all online, and once we're ready to open up the building, they'll start playing up there. The beach, as we indicated last month, the board has asked management to investigate some alternatives on how we could still accomplish that goal. And we had a repair person come out and take a look at the snookers table, and we're going to get that refelt.
All right. Next up then would be open forum.
Open forum, and make sure you keep your comments to 3 minutes, please.
I'm Jim Parsons, and I'm chairman of the Bella Vista Patriots, live on Lake Avalon. And Attorney McCash, did I understand that you have decided to stay with the old 1963 Act? Was that correct?
That's correct.
The Patriots are certainly disappointed in that because that act is about 127 pages long. The new act in 1993 is only 25 pages long. If you stay with the old act, you have been in violation for years in that you have not been, any time you've made proposals and made amendments, why that was to have been done by court order, and looking at the county records, you have not done that, and you're in violation of that. There's nothing back in the 1963 to where you can use a type of election that you had, electronic election, and so that probably was bogus also. But to stay with the old act, why we're very disappointed in that, and we're hopeful that you would go with the new act. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons. Any others?
Then we'll move along. Joint advisory reports. The first one is lakes. I don't think we have anybody here from the lakes, and I was there in attendance. We talked about the recent stocking of some of the lakes, how they're working on a fish hatchery, so they can do some of that work in-house, and how they're going to once again this year use the ponds and the golf course as a nursery for the fish. So it was a good meeting. Next up, we have the Recreation Committee.
My name is Gary Griffin. I'm the Vice Chair of the Recreation Joint Advisory Committee. Had our meeting this last Monday. We talked about quite a few things. We came to order. We went through the amenity reports. There's a couple of things on that I want to bring to your attention. We talked about parking lot being striped, and Tom said in 2017 that's going to happen. So that was a concern of some of our committee members. Gun range footings are poured, the restrooms, and they're getting ready to put the restroom in and put in the outbuilding as well. We had a report that Lake Ann had early fishermen out there because we had such nice weather in January, and caught some has some good sized fish. Reardon Hall is going to get painted. And that was, in fact, a lot of this came out today in the email blast. So, Blowing Springs, more camping. More tent camping has been happening, and that's a good thing. Joan gave us a complete report on all that as well. London Park looks good. Tanner Creek is still as busy as it could be, especially with the good weather that we had once again. It should be busy this weekend as well. Metfield's in good shape, and what we got from Jay is they've now started a new group of Friends of Dogwood to help with the upkeep of the course, similar to the Friends of the Highlands, which is a big help once again to us. Judy Griffin brought up the community gardens. We had our first meeting last Saturday. The community gardens is in conjunction with Mercy and with Cooper Elementary. We were out there from 1 to 2, and 23 people showed up. We had 23 out of 40 that showed interest, 23 actually showed up. In fact, I saw that just before I came here in the email blast once again. We're having another meeting from 9 to noon this Saturday, because we've got a lot of people involved too that want to try to help expand that, and through the help of Mercy and their director, there's some grant funds still available to help to improve what's there currently. And I've got 4 or 5 people right now that are willing to work on a building committee to provide more beds for all the people that we brought to the table. So I think it's going to be good as it moves on. And there's also other materials that need to be picked up, and we've worked on that as well. We're going to clean that out this Saturday. Deb Sorensen gave us an update on the welcome coffee, the meet and greet. The first one will be held on March 4th at Reardon, beginning at 9 a.m. She said she's got 13 individuals that have responded so far. I think, Tom, you're invited because you haven't been here living for a year. And anyone would like to attend, and Kendall will be joining us at that as well. From the staff reports, Tom took us through our annual orientation to make sure that we were certified and we knew what we were doing, or at least we said we were, and we signed off on it. Joan gave us a lot of details on what's happened with the Recreation Committee in terms of the play more, pay less. We had a problem with that earlier. 54 passes have already been done in the short period of time that's been out. And we did talk to the $100 to add your kids and grandkids was officially, I think, launched that day. And so we're looking to see what happens with that. Something I'm interested in is the Get Golf Ready Camp for $99 this year. We didn't have any time to do that last year, but it sounded like it had quite a few people that wanted to play or learn how to play golf. And it seemed like there was a lot of interest inside the Recreation Committee as well. Let's see. I guess the Saturday night Valentine's Day dance went off without a hitch, and it was a sellout as well. And Joan's already got something planned in the fall. So we're good with that. John took us through the lock loom and drawdown. It's done at this point in time, and once they're done with the repairs, we'll fill it back up. And they're looking to do that again perhaps in December and give people some time to understand, give them time frames so that they can plan accordingly based on the amount of contractors we have here that can, in fact, do that kind of work in that period of time. And Rick said the gun range was down about 20% due to bad weather. It was pretty cold in certain parts of the year, but we have also added 600 trees to Lake Avalon for the fish habitat. New business, 2 things. Frisbee golf was actually brought up to Judy Griffin by someone she actually met in her business, in her daily business. And he's somebody who has been actively in Frisbee golf and gave us a lot of detailed information about it, lives up here. And what we were looking at it from that perspective is perhaps we could have that person come back and talk to the Recreation Committee about this. And Joan's got his contact information to look at that further. And then finally, we had a visitor, Jeff Remfrey, who was a very avid archer and was wondering where we were going with that. And we talked to what we've been looking at, what would the resources be needed to donate, if we can get donations on it, what would it cost to build an archery range? Because it's had a lot of interest in the short period of time that I've been on the board or on the Recreation Committee. And it could be a potential moneymaker for Bella Vista overall. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is golf.
Okay, my name is Tom Stevens. I'm the chairman of the golf committee for the Bella Vista Property Owners Association. I want to thank Sue Nuttall for getting the minutes out of our meeting yesterday morning to me early enough that I could at least have something to talk about today. So kudos to her. We did meet yesterday. Most of you, or a lot of you in this room were at that meeting. Kim was brought and was introduced from the standpoint by Mr. Judson. Mr. Eames, reported from the standpoint. His report basically covered the fact that the country club bunkers work is complete and the golf course will open on Saturday the 25th. They've done a lot of winter updates to the golf courses, including the pre-emergent that have been sprayed on the golf courses. They've removed Scottsdale. There will be a driving range updates to the driving range there to the right of number 9. They're planting, I understand, 15 trees. 8 of them have already been planted. All of them have been planted? Okay. The cart path repair, they will start in April on Highlands and Dogwood with a total of 6,000 linear feet of repair to the cart paths. Philip and Daryl were there from Standpoint. They had some information on the tournaments. The Sweetheart Tournament apparently was a success in spite of the weather. They had 100 people signed up, and 80 of them actually showed and played in the slop. So, and that's what it is, so sorry. And I understand the tournament was followed by a romantic lasagna dinner. Now, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to that one. The spring 3-person scramble is next. It's coming up March 25th and 26th. We have a new series, the Men's and Women's Senior Open, starting April 1st. The Bella Vista Cup, a new series that the golf operations is working on, starts April 7th. Daryl was very enthusiastic over his junior golf program. We're apparently getting ready to do a lot of really nice things for that. One is a PGA Junior Golf League that is new this year, and this involves juniors in the village or around here will compete against other teams in the area at other clubs. So we will have a team representing Bella Vista in this particular event. They've got other programs coming on with 6 weeks of golf camp, and we understand that the first tee will be returning to Bella Vista in 2017 for 3 events. So they're excited about that. The Golf Expo will be March 18th. Preceding that morning, we will have a meeting with the golf leaders just before the Golf Expo. The Golf Fest will be April 15th. That's where we're bringing in 5 or 6 of the major vendors to demo their equipment, give some lessons and various other things. And the biggie is the Adams Tour event will be May 22nd through the 27th. There is a pro-am that will be involved with this. You can pay for to be in the pro-am. This is going to require a significant number of volunteers. This is being headed up by Ruth Hatcher. We understand we will need approximately 65 volunteers per day. So if you can help, get in contact with Ruth. I'm sure she will be contacting others around. Kim gave us a short presentation. Today was day 9 for her. Yesterday was day 8, so she did have a rather short presentation on marketing. Sue helped her with some things. It was presented from standpoint that last week in Gulf, Oklahoma, from a standpoint, the Northwest Arkansas Trail was presented in there, had a presentation in there, and Bella Vista was front and center on the front cover of their magazine. I got another memo from them from Gulf, Oklahoma today with their 2017 directory, which I have sent to you, Tom. And basically, there's a 2-page article in there about the rejuvenation of Bella Vista. So I recommend you go read that. That is all free advertising due to our being on the natural trail. We had an open forum. We had about 20 guests yesterday morning. Everybody's questions were answered. Some of them didn't like the answer they got, but they got an answer. So, and we go forward from there. Old business was discussed from a standpoint. We are measuring the golf courses in Bella Vista, remeasuring them. As of about 12:15 this afternoon, 4 of them are now complete. We have done Scottsdale last year before we reopened it. We have now done the Country Club, Kingswood, and we finished Highlands today. That information has been sent to Keith and Philip and Daryl for their review before we actually make any changes. We will be doing the other 2 courses, Burksdale and Highlands, March 2nd and 9th. So we are doing all this in conjunction with trying to get the golf courses re-rated by the USGA. We are having some issues getting them in here. Is that a good word? A safe word from a standpoint? The problem being right now that the Arkansas State Golf Association does not have a men's course rating team. The USGA has been kind enough to intervene to some degree and help Keith with finding and helping the ASGA get a team together to come and re-rate our golf courses. In conjunction with that, we will also need to go out and make sure all of the markings of our golf courses are correct before that rating occurs. And we also make sure that at least Highlands is marked correctly before we have the Adams Tour people in here. And that's the highlights and the major of what's going on. Any questions?
Thank you for the report. The young residents did not have a meeting because the meeting time was on Valentine's Day. So they canceled it. Also wanted to point out in the meeting packet, unfortunately, you do not have the minutes for the most recent Lakes and Recreation meeting because the Recreation meeting took place on Monday and Lakes was yesterday and just not enough time to get that done. You'll see that in your next packet. Also, it was referenced earlier, but I conducted our annual committee, JEC training with each of the committees except for young residents because that meeting did not take place. Okay, moving on to old business. Roman numeral 8, policy changes, changes to policy 1.07, 1.08, 1.10, 1.11, 2.01, 2.02, 2.03, 2.04, 2.05, 2.06, 2.07, 2.08, 3.01, and 3.01.1. These changes will modernize the policies and ensure the uniform usage of terms throughout the governing documents. This is the second and final reading.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the changes to the policies as enumerated in your board packet.
Second.
Who's first? Ruth? And Bruce, second?
No wonder the board gets
I will
criticism.
second.
I mean,
Okay.
second comes before first.
I stand corrected.
Any discussion?
I'd also like to comment that all these policies went through the Rules and Regulations Committee twice.
If there's no discussion, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, changes to policy 3.02, 3.03, 3.06, 3.08, 3.09, 4.01, 4.02, 6.02, 7.03, 7.04, 7.05, 8.01, 8.02, 8.03, and 8.031. These changes will modernize the policies and ensure uniform usage of terms throughout the governing documents. This will be the first reading, and once again, all of this was reviewed and sanctioned by the Rules and Regulations Committee.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the changes to the policies as enumerated in your board packet.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda, and I'm going to have Keith Eames step up to talk about this, but we were requesting, management is requesting a 3-bid variance on a specialized piece of equipment.
Here? Okay, we had to, I was looking this year to become more efficient on how we're doing different mowing practices on areas on our golf courses that have challenging slopes, mainly Scottsdale and Highlands. We added some new challenges for ourselves over there when we redid the clubhouse area at Scottsdale, gave more areas. We went out and looked for machines within the major manufacturers that we normally buy, which are Jacobson, Toro, and John Deere. The most slope rating machinery they had that was safe is 15%. Wouldn't mow those slopes. So we looked around and I found a machine, a Ventrek is the company. They make a machine that will safely operate on 30-degree slopes. And the way it works is, the key to it is keeping wheels on the ground all the time. If you've ever been on a four-wheeler, most standard equipment is solid. So if you turn like this, it all stays together. You get wheels off the ground. The Ventrek can move this away, this away, this away. It's always keeping wheels on the ground. So it's very safe. The way it's going to save us money, I'll give you an example. We brought it out and tested it on the front of 15T at Scottsdale. Pretty steep. Typically, we weed eat that about 2 times a year. It takes one man all day. We were able to use this machine and mow it in about 25 minutes. The other advantage, this machine is very versatile. It can mow other areas as well. It carries multiple decks. And by that, I mean we take out one deck to mow one area. We can carry the other deck. We don't have to go all the way back to the shop, come all the way back out, change decks. It's very efficient that way. And we intend to share this piece of equipment between 2 golf courses, Highlands and Scottsdale. So I think it's a very economical way to save money on our labor. And even though I'm asking for a variance, I was able to get them to take $1,100 off of the price of this machine. Any questions?
There isn't any other course that we need that more on?
We could use it in some other areas, but the majority of it are those 2. Yes. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the 3-bid variance request from golf course maintenance as detailed by Mr. Eames.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Good job, Bruce. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
A few announcements. The COO board meeting will take place on Thursday, March 2nd at 2:30 in the Country Club board meeting room. This is a closed discussion meeting. The Board of Directors work session will take place on Thursday, March 9th at 8 a.m. in the boardroom at the Country Club. And the Board of Directors regular meeting will take place on Thursday, March 16th at 6:30 p.m. in the Country Club board meeting room.
Just one comment on the March 2017 calendar that's attached. It says that Bruce and I are going to meet at 11 p.m. The Rules and Regulations Committee.
There is a bottle of scotch involved at 11 p.m. But
I don't drink. I can pick you up because I don't drink.
Okay, that's true. An NA beer for you.
Okay. Sorry about that. We'll get that fixed.
11 a.m., right?
It's 11 a.m.
11 a.m., okay.
Did the marketing committee and communications get moved to the second?
No, that should, I'm sorry, that should be on the 6th also.
We did one time. So did we move the rules and reg back to 11?
We can move it to 5:30. I think we changed it for Andrew to 5:30 p.m. 5:30 or 6, we can do it 6 p.m. Whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. Are we moving it back to 11 now?
It's your guys'
you prefer.
meeting, so you tell us.
No, 6. Yeah.
All right, on the 6th at 6 p.m.
What was the change to marketing?
Marketing will take place on the 6th at 9:30 a.m.
Instead of the 13th.
That's what it's, okay, that's what it's scheduled as.
Any other adjustment? Everything else appears to be correct.
All right. Any other comments? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.